heard that computing is just a bunch of ones and zeros. But what if I told you that it's a lot of physics and chemistry as well? Let's talk about transistors today, and maybe you'll understand why. But before we start, some basics. So ones and zeros really just represent high and low voltages. And these are then combined in logic gates, circuits that perform simple logic operations, really. For example, an AND operation takes in two inputs, and it only returns a 1 if both of the inputs are ones. Logic gates are the building blocks of computers. Millions of them work together to process everything from videos to spreadsheets. But here's the catch. For them to work, they all rely on transistors. Why? In circuits, you need a way to control electricity. Connecting wires with different voltages can cause short circuits. But transistors act like tiny switches, deciding when electricity flows and when it doesn't. But what exactly are transistors? Transistors are actually made with silicon, a semiconductor with 4 electrons in its outermost shell. And when solid, it forms a rigid lattice structure. Through a process called doping, what we can actually do is replace some of its silicon atoms to change some of the properties. Let's say we replace it with boron. We get a p-type semiconductor because it's full of holes where electrons are missing, because boron only has 3 valence electrons. On the other hand, if we replace it with phosphorus, which has 5 valence electrons, we get an n-type semiconductor where we have extra electrons literally just floating around. Put these materials together and we get something fascinating. Some of the free electrons from the n-type semiconductor fill up the holes in the p-type semiconductor, creating a negative charge on the p-type side. This blocks current flow because the negative charge repels the negatively charged electrons trying to pass through. To control this, we add a third terminal, the input. A positive voltage at the input attracts electrons, decreasing the depletion layer and allowing current to flow again. Turn it off, and the current stops. This is how a transistor works in a circuit. The left pin receives a voltage signal. If the middle input pin is set to 1, the voltage signal passes through to the right pin. However, if the input is 0, no voltage is outputted through the right pin. Putting everything together, let's look at an AND gate circuit. The two inputs, controlled by switches, travel through the blue wires. If both inputs have high voltage, the red output wire will carry the output voltage. But without transistors, things go wrong. If one input is 1 and the other is 0, the blue wires are directly connected, causing a short circuit. So, this is how a little chemistry builds transistors, which build our logic gates, which in turn form our computer chips that ultimately power our favorite devices.